So lovely to see you all. Isn't it wonderful that we can see each other, but we can't see each other? That's how it is. Hmm. So the thought that there's something else to get, the thought that there's something missing, the thought that there must be more, the thought that there must be less, the thought that there's something else, that there's somewhere else. Well, just thoughts. Just thoughts. And if you know what a thought is, that's another thought. And if thoughts are just thoughts, well, there's liberation in that alone. The thing about thoughts being my thoughts seems to give them all their power, all the weight and significance and importance. But of course, the thought that they're important, just a thought. So if you're having the thought about thoughts, it's of no significance at all. No thought is. You know, these profound thoughts. So is one thought more profound than another? You know, if you have a thought about peanut butter sandwiches, is that less profound than the oneness of all things? I doubt it. I doubt it completely. They're all empty. And what we call things is a thought. Now that doesn't make thought wrong. The thought that thought's wrong is another thought. That's of no significance. Thinking is not a problem. The problem is thinking that thinking's a problem. Making thought the problem. And really, there's no distinction between thought and feeling. It's another false duality, another false separation that doesn't exist. You'll never find the division between thought and feeling. There is none. And if you take thought and feeling away, well, really, then there is absolutely nothing. So if you've been desiring nothing, which maybe you have, then there would be no knowing of nothing. There would be no feeling of nothing. There's no finding nothing. There's nothing to find. If you think your favorite speakers or your favorite authors have found what you're looking for, just a thought, just an idea, a hope, a fantasy. There's absolutely no knowing of another, of other in any form. There is no other. Now, maybe you like the idea that there is no me. Of course, without me, there is no other than me. Such a joke. Such a beautiful joke. And without me, you don't take yourself seriously. And without other than me, you're not taking the others seriously at all. And so there is just a natural lightness. But it's wonderful that you're never going to ask anyone how their reality is in order that you might be where they are. There's an incredible equality, a neutrality that I can never have because I'm always in comparison. Always above some others and always below some others. Just a few I feel equal to. But there's no higher or lower. And that can sound sort of nihilistic, but it's not at all, because preferences are just the same. You just like who you like, and you dislike who you don't like, quite naturally, but that doesn't make them less or more. Liking is just as it is. I don't like crunchy peanut butter, but it's not inferior to the smooth. I've got fairies outside the window today. I've got willow trees in the garden. And when the willow seeds, they're huge willow trees, and the air is just full of these, similar to dandelion clock, you know, blowing in the wind, but it's just, the sky is full of fairies, and they just literally, they just float suspended. They don't even fall from the sky. It's just like they can just hang in the sky. Fairies, hey? Well, if you'd like to share anything, feel free to do that. And if you'd like to ask a question, raise your hand or write it in the chat.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi. As soon as you said fairies, I was like, yes, because they've been following me. Like I even had the window down in my car and they floated right in. I was like, I love it. It's so fun. But yeah, like out of all the possibilities of what to say, what is spoken with no possibilities, you know. It's like just being done and undone as soon as it's being done. Like just, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's not even a possibility, is it?
Possible. It's just whatever's said or thought or felt is just happening. It just seems to be happening, and that's all there is. You know.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, it's so funny. If you'd have said to me years ago that I'd be speaking about there are no possibilities, you know, I was kind of lived in optimism, lived in hope, you know, and really couldn't stand being around pessimists, because it sounds terribly pessimistic that there are no possibilities, but it's actually completely the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. I always felt like I was always more of a pessimist at heart, but I tried to do the optimism thing,
Yeah.
and just like didn't work. You know, I mean, it is what it is, but I just, you know, there was like this holding on to hope, like, yes, it could get better, it could be something else. And then it's just like, it's not hopeless because it's just what's, you know, happening, what's going on. And it's not like you're sitting here going, oh my God, there's no hope, it's all lost. Well, it was never found, it was never lost. You know, it's just without hope, there's really not a hopelessness, you know.
No, I think I've said that too many times, but I don't tire of saying it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, the obviousness that there's no hope doesn't feel hopeless at all.
No.
No. Because if hope dies, hopeless dies with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're really talking about the death of the future, yeah, as a reality.
Right.
I mean, I really mean that. I mean, they're just by death, I just mean that more than death, actually. Death presumes that it existed and then it died. No, it's just non-existence. There is no future.
No.
And there is no future to virtually every self. That is the most dreadful thing to even contemplate. Well, how will I ever become what I need to become? Well, simply, you won't.
Because you're
because there's no becoming. There's no one to become. There's no one to become, and there's nowhere to become. So on both counts, becoming is annihilated.
Right. It's all, and that's what's so funny sometimes, you know? It's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's just like thoughts, like you said, coming from nowhere. No
Yeah.
one's having those thoughts. They're just like, we don't even know what they are. I mean, what the hell? You know, it's like, sometimes these thoughts are in a different voice that aren't mine. But how do I know that? Because it's not being heard from, there's nowhere it's being heard from. It's like, it's just,
But the whole sense that you have, you know, that there's a voice that isn't mine. Well, there is no your voice, you know.
yeah, it's all the voice. It's all the voice. Doesn't matter.
No.
No. Mm-mm.
Thanks, Nadia.
Thanks, Tim.
Michael has his hand up.
Oh, Michael.
Something you said about thought. We think of thought as a thing, but it's really just a self-referential feedback loop. It's always refers back to self. And I think when we think of thought, when we think of thought as an actual thing, things get confusing. That this brain looks out into a world of named objects, and they all refer back to self. And of course, there isn't one. So that's our only reference, is thought. How is it possible to either see that or recognize it? I don't know, but something seems to happen in the brain where it relaxes or collapses, and all of a sudden, oh, it's a magical kingdom. Like you said, fairies in the it's still the same kingdom, of course. It's all self-referential. There's no escaping that for us, I don't believe. But it's different. It's not personalized. It's not burdened by the person, by a bloody sheet of memories. Very childlike. That's what I like about coming here, is that childlike innocence of you and your boys.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm at an advantage because I hang around with my boys quite a bit. But if you hang around with kids and there's an openness, then of course you can't help but share in their wonder. It's all innocent. I mean, you said about innocence. It's just you could say. I mean, innocent isn't the right word, because innocent only as a word, it exists in relation to guilt, and innocence isn't the right word. And yet, for want of a better word, there is a really obvious innocence, which by that I mean the absence of any responsibility, guilt, shame, purpose, volition. Nothing is doing nothing. There isn't anything doing anything. No one, no thing is responsible and is in control. Everything is just freely appearing. And that free appearance has a sense of complete innocence about it. And that's, you know, that's everything. There's no exception to that. That's why most human beings, most selves can't go near this. They hear this and there's revulsion because someone must be responsible. And if someone isn't responsible, then something must be. There must be a source. There must be, even if you've refuted God, self still has to have some power that is managing this shit show. But of course, there's no freedom if you just go from me to you to, I don't know, society, to church, to God, to angels, to fairies, whatever, you know, to aliens, whatever you know, or whatever you fantasize, that there must be some higher power. Well, maybe there's not higher power because there's no lower power. There just simply is no power. All power is in the utter powerlessness. There is no manager. This doesn't need managing. Isn't that the most miraculous wonder? That everything appears with no source. Utterly sourceless. There's nothing more beautiful than beauty just appearing. As you don't deserve it. You haven't asked for it. You certainly don't deserve it. But there it is. And this just quite, the simplest thing will move you to tears when you least expect it.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Michael.
Asia Hazahanda.
Asia.
Let's see. Yeah, children. I like that. I had 3 children, and I suppose that was the highlight of my life, having those children.
You're very quiet, Razia.
Oh, I
Or
have.
is it just me?
Oh, okay, having those children was the highlight of my life, I think. Nothing. Yeah, that's the most beautiful part of being alive, is having this child and holding it in your hands and looking if it has all its toes. It's if everything came out all right, you know. I know when I had my son, yeah, it was like Mother's Day, and I said to my husband, "Where's my present now for Mother's Day?" And he said, "Oh, you're not your mother, so there's no present." And I was so disappointed because, I mean, what the heck? I wasn't a mother, but I was a mother to all kids in school. I deserved a present. Yeah, and yeah, and then this one day, I mean, this is just a parable. You can look at this as. And this one day, I remember my mother-in-law said, "Hey, let's go to the temple." And I went to the temple with her. This is the first time I went to a temple, right? Because I'm from a Muslim background. And I went with my husband, and it was like a whole new experience. And then when we went there was a pond, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to." My husband said, "You can make a wish here, you know." So I threw the coin into the pond, and I made a wish that I must have a child. It didn't matter to me whether it was a girl or a boy or what, but just a child. I wanted a child so much. And 9 months from that day, I had a child. It was like in April, I made the wish, and in January, I had the child. So, I mean, there's like little things that happen, like coincidences, you know, and then we place so much of value on them because. So anyway, that was like, I mean, like it was the most amazing thing when I knew that I was going to have this child and carrying that child. It was like during that time, I felt not like almost like psychic. It was so amazing. Everything was just, I don't know how to describe it. I could know stuff and this and that, you know, about things. And then finally, when my son was born, I had the child, obviously, and then it was a son. And that was like a gift. And then just after my son, I had my daughter, and then my other daughter had like three children, all under 5. And then my last daughter I called her Shakti. I don't know why. I called her Shakti. And then I said, no, Shakti is not enough. I'll put Kajal in front of it, you know? Black. Kajal is black. So I'll call it Kajal Shakti. I'll call it Kajal Shakti. And like the dark power of the feminine, you know? And yeah, that was the most amazing thing. And that was it was just after I had my daughter, 6 months later, that I experienced the shift. I started wondering sometimes, you know, I kept calling her Shakti. I don't know if it was something related. But, you know, in a dualistic world, I mean, it came from, that was what it was all about. So, yeah, then I experienced the shift. And then obviously my children grew up now with me, going to the bhajans, going to satsang, doing all the stuff. And then one day it was just like, hey, I used to take my children. My daughter was like 1 year old. And I'll take her to the satsang where I used to teach, you know, teach this. But it was like in dualistic ways, like, you know, chakras and this and that. And yeah, I used to take her with me. And then this one day, we got hijacked. And my maid was carrying her child. And the funny thing is, those hijackers came up and they didn't do a thing to us. Like, you know, all they wanted was to come. But But soon after that happened, then I realized like I couldn't do this anymore, like, because I mean, I had these 3 little children and stuff, so I stopped. But yeah, that was the most beautiful part of it all. And then I used to take them to these satsangs, and 3 children are very, very noisy. So even those people were not tolerant of children. So finally, I had to say, I have to stay at home now. And that was how it ended. But stayed at home, and then I think when I was in my 50s, finally, I realized, hey, I have to go back now, and that was when I met Michael. And it kind of changed the whole perspective. Now, for the first time, I was looking at it from a non-dual perspective, And I sat there like for 3 years, not even knowing what it was. And in that time, my children grew up. And I thought like they'll all be like spiritual, but they weren't. My son is not spiritual at all. He is an atheist. He doesn't do a thing, And my daughter does some yoga. The other one, I don't know, I think she's Christian, I'm not sure. But yeah, so even if you have this kind of upbringing, it doesn't really guarantee much. But I'm quite happy with them. They seem to have grown up to be decent human beings. Yeah, so, and you'll notice with children, there's always that awe. Sometimes you look at children, right? And they look at you and there's that love that comes through. I don't know. I always feel that, especially when they're like 2 years old. When my granddaughter was like 2 years old, I went for her birthday. And I could see, when the maid came in. Like in South Africa, we have maids, right? We call them, y'all call them helpers. And when the maid came in, she was so happy to see the maid. You could see that joy. That was just unreal.
Yeah.
And I looked at her eyes and I looked at her hands. Her hands were big like mine, And it was like so amazing to see that she had my kind of hands. Everything about children is amazing. And then she went and brought all her toys and she said, let's play shopping now and stuff. And you can get just so involved with them and that love that they have. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, Razzie.
Yeah.
It's often talked about that as children, we have natural awe and wonder, and then it's lost. But it really isn't. It isn't ever lost. There isn't anything to be lost. And maybe there's more awe and wonder in looking upon a child than the child. You tend to infer the awe and wonder onto the child, which is when they're not feeling it at all. Oh, I wish I was childlike, in that childlike awe and wonder, when actually the childlike awe and wonder is in seeing the child.
Yeah.
Look at the child. How would there not be awe and wonder at the wonder of it? An utterly unself-conscious 2-year-old child.
Yes.
It's probably the most awesome thing, because of course we are just adult children.
And the amazing thing is it's not only a mother's love, they love their dad so much. Like with mine.
You see now you're now pricking all the natural envy that all men have for women. Yeah, really. It's really there's just a natural envy that men have. I shouldn't say all men, but I know a lot of men what do we do? What part do we play in it? And then women get this the most incredible. I mean, can be dreadful, but the pain and the joy of carrying another human being and giving birth. I just think that all men, most men would not go near admitting it, but there's envy in that.
Yeah, but
That's
what I envied Tim was that my daughters actually, I mean, I give birth to them, right? But they love their dad more. And that's it. So it doesn't matter who gives birth to them or what it is, but
no, I
the
just,
DNA is there.
I'm
yeah,
kind
the
of just referring to the intimacy of it, really.
Oh, yeah.
You know, as a father, you're pretty much a bystander.
Yeah.
Brendan has
Yeah,
his
maybe.
hand up.
Thanks, Razia. Brendan.
Yeah, hi Tim, how are you?
That's good. You're very loud.
Oh, sorry.
It's because I said Razia was quiet, I think. That's fine.
I just wanted to say one thing, but I'm not sure that my children helped me in any way in this process.
What's that?
Well, in terms of non-duality, I feel uncomfortable around a situation where maybe a lot of people haven't got children, and we're talking about children.
Oh, I see.
But I did want to say that I've just finished your book, Tim, and it's exquisite.
Oh, thanks, Brendan.
And I just want to share that with the group because
Oh, that's a lovely thing.
it's such a wonderful book.
Thank you.
Says it all.
Oh, brilliant.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Brendan.
Okay.
No, and I take your point. Not everyone has children, of course, no.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, though. Of course, no one has children. No, I do mean that. I think one of the reasons I get such joy from my children, they are not mine in any sense at all. I don't have any sense of possession of them, which I will say, without that, then there is well, the love. I don't have responsibility either. Now that might sound irresponsible of me, but I don't. The absence of responsibility is not irresponsibility, believe it or not. You don't need to believe it, but there's just, when there's love, of course, there is natural nurturing, caring, loving. You know, you don't need that sense of, okay, it's my role, it's my job. It's not a job. It's not a job. I make it my job. You don't have a job. Don't tell your boss.
Razia has a hand up.
I just wanted to respond to what Brenda,
Brandon said, yeah.
Yes. I think all of us are mothers and fathers, because I live in South Africa, and the Zulu word Ubuntu, there's this word Ubuntu which means that every child is your child. You have to have responsibility for every child out there, you know? It's not just your child, just your children. And then we go back to Khalil Gibran, who says, your children are not your children. They're the sons and daughters of life longing for themselves, for itself. And all you are is the bow and they are the arrows. You could never live in their world. You could never think theirs, even know what the world is going to be like. You can never prepare them for that world that they're going to live in, because it's the world of tomorrow that we don't know. We're just in this present moment. Right, but I mean, obviously in some ways there is this happening here in the present moment, and there is this thing that these children will see a different kind of a future. Right, and yeah, and then I never really, even like those children I taught in school, they were all my children. I never thought of them as not being mine, you know, at any point in time, because if my child and another child came up to me, I would listen to both of them, and I would choose what was the right thing to do. That was it. It would never meant that this is my child, I must now become that. Then later on, I think Michael pointed out to me that I am their mother, you know. They expect that protection from me, that love and protection, which I have to give them. Then it changed it a bit now, because I started to realize that I have to give them that kind of a love, that motherly love, you know.
Thanks, Rossi.
Yeah, thanks, Brendan. Sorry if I did offend people by talking about it. I didn't mean. Forgive.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Kim Ho has his hand up.
I just say, from what Raji said, there are no bows and arrows. You know, I'm no more a bow than an arrow. You can tell a story of bows and arrows, but there really aren't any. Kimo.
Hey Tim, I will try to without crying too much, but it's so nice to have totally trust in another man.
Oh, Kimo, don't you start me off. I know I laugh, but my laugh is my defense against crying all the time. I will say that. I've always done it. You know, when I'm about to cry, usually I just make a joke. But
It's totally wonderful.
thanks, Kim. Oh, goodness, yeah.
It's in a way I have say something funny because I would cry all the time.
I get it.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Tim.
Oh no, thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah, there is a reason that I mean, I've always done it. I still do it. I do it a lot less, and I don't. It's kind of like once I realized it was a defense mechanism, you know, making light and just being sarcastic. And when I knew it was a defense mechanism, then it became a problem, and now it's not a problem, because really it's very hard to tell tears, you know, tears from laughter. Very often they come, you can't tell. With love, because there's no doubt expressions of love, the most two obvious are sorrow and laughter, you know, joy and sorrow. They're really not two. And often you can't tell the difference. That's how it is a lot of the time. So people say how I am, and really I have no idea. I don't know. Thanks, Kim. That's beautiful.
Yeah, the same to you. And in a way, I don't know what we are talking about.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, you're in the right place for that, you know. There isn't any fucker here knows what they're talking about. I can guarantee that. Now, if you go outside of this meeting, you have to be careful about saying such things. Here, I feel I'm on really solid ground, saying none of you lot have a fucking clue, and that's kind of what we share here. And of course that is the most loving. I mean, whilst you think others have something else, have a clue. The most wonderful thing is you don't need a clue. There are no clues to this, you know, and by that, you know, I was always looking, I was hanging on pointers. When I was a seeker and I found a pointer and it resonated, I mean, I could be in ecstasy for about 10 minutes. You know, having found a breadcrumb, you know, Hansel and Gretel in the woods, having found a breadcrumb on the path. And it is like you're just a pauper searching for breadcrumbs on the path that will lead you. And I was, you could say all selves are paupers looking for breadcrumbs in the dark woods to show them the way. And there's nowhere to get to. There's no path away from here and there's no path towards here. There's no way to leave and there's no way to enter. There isn't. There really aren't any paths. And so there's rest.
Yeah. It's funny because it is this theme, non-duality, but it's so human. It's in a way I don't know what in a way you know zoom into to talk about non-duality, but what is here right now from me is just totally human and nothing else.
No. What else would we be, Kima?
Yeah.
You know, you could try to be whatever you want, but you'll only be human. You're not going to escape. There is no escape. There's not this. I think virtually all spiritual paths are escapism in one form or another. You know, they're always leading away from this, you could say, really messy, being human, and you know, and I want it to be cleaned up. You know, you think of the words that are spiritual words: purity, clarity. You know, it's like trying to disinfect being human and clean it up, make it clinical.
Yeah.
Well, being human isn't clinical in any way. It's, I mean, and really when you think about what being clinical is, it's killing. It's trying to disinfect. So it's trying to get rid of all the things that are harmful. And of course, what does that? That kills everything.
Yeah.
If you're killing the bad stuff, you're killing the joy as well, aren't you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Especially sorrow. I mean, more than anything, most people are trying to escape from sorrow.
Yeah, but you bring it back.
Well, it's so obvious that sorrow is love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whilst there's trying to run from sorrow, hide from sorrow, you won't be able to feel the most obvious love of being human.
Oh, Tim. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Michelle has a hand up.
Michelle.
Hi there.
Hi there.
Thank you. Can I just on what you just said? Oh, was that my echo? I'm sorry. Is there an example of when we do cause harm of what it sounds like to own it in the new non-duality world with our loved ones and stuff? Like
To own it. To own
like
it.
to own it. Like I was an a-hole just now, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But is there you know, in our lives? Is there something that, like a phrase that you use?
What when you've been an arsehole, what
Mhm.
you want a non-dual phrase for being an arsehole?
Mhm.
I just think, I mean,
For apologizing, so we can move on.
right. It may sound that if there's no one to apologize, there won't be any apologizing. Does it sound a bit like that to you?
For in a non-duality.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I get that leveled at me. The spiritual bypassing, it's quite often called.
But I don't want to do that. I don't want to.
No,
We have to live in the world.
Right? No, there's no doing that. This isn't about not living in the. Well, it kind of is not living in the world, but it's not being. I mean, if there's natural compassion because the other human being is hurt by what you've said or what you've done, then there's natural apologizing. Doesn't need you to apologize. So it's just another myth that so there isn't a self and it's only me that would apologize. I would need to be me and feel like me in order to feel the compassion that someone else is upset and they would appreciate an apology. I will say one thing, it's much easier now for me to apologize than it ever was, because I was always loath to apologize because I'm going to lose face. So actually apologizing is immensely easier because it's genuine. I don't mean it that you're just making it up just to so the other person feels better. It's very genuine. There's no, if there's no intent to cause upset to another human being and they are upset by what you've done, there will be absolute heartfelt apology, naturally. It's not, it was, Michelle, your apologies are already not yours. You naturally apologize if someone you care, or just anyone, is upset by what you say or do. This isn't a way of living. This isn't a way of being. That's not what was being talked about at all.
I'm still trying to do non-duality in my life. I'm still there. So
Well, yeah, well, there isn't. I mean, this comes under the title of non-duality, but as Chemo just suggested, there isn't. He didn't say it, but there isn't such a thing. This isn't a doctrine or a dogma or a method or a practice or a way or a. It's just not. It's just saying everything is as it is. It's too simple to be anything. So no, there isn't a non-dual way of apologizing. If you get into a non-dual, now I do know people who will do this, if you say, I'm apologizing, but it's not me apologizing, well, you're asking for a slap, basically. Don't go fucking near that shit. If you say to someone else, now I know you're expecting an apology, so I'm going to give you an apology, but there's no one here to apologize, and there's no one who did anything wrong, and there's no one there to receive an apology, and there's no one there who's upset. Well, if you want to really upset someone, go down that road. So that I wouldn't ever suggest any of that. Just naturally, as I said, it's very easy to apologize. The only one who has a problem with apologizing is me. Because it will make me feel bad because I've done something wrong and I don't want to feel bad about doing something wrong. But apologizing isn't a problem. Or receiving an apology. The other thing, is some selves aren't good at receiving an apology. Again, there's no one receiving it. It's quite lovely if someone if another human being apologizes, because they feel they've done something to upset you, even if they haven't. It's quite beautiful. That's all. None of it's any big deal, you know.
I was just thinking, Tim, what you probably won't do is apologize, though, just to make life feel better or more out of convenience, or
no.
or apologize.
Well, you won't apologize because
you don't
think,
really mean it.
No, not at all. No, there's no need to apologize, but I will say you might find yourself apologizing more quite easily and naturally. Yeah. But it won't be a big deal whether you do or you don't. Now that's different. How much as me have you ruminated over whether you should apologize or not? Fucking hell. Those thoughts they can go on for weeks, months, years. I should apologize, but I'm not apologizing to that bitch.
Or did it sound authentic?
You know, it's like maybe I should apologize. Yeah, I kind of regret it, but she deserved it anyway. You know, all of that, and then, oh God, it's endless. I would say, I mean, if there's just a natural apology and it is heartfelt, you know, it is meant, it doesn't really matter whether it's received or not either. So there's the thing. So for me, it really matters how it's received. But it doesn't really matter how it's received, because what the hell? I mean, you don't have any power over the apology, let alone how it's received. So it just feels good to do it, and then how it lands, how it's received, what could be done about that?
Yeah, often an apology felt more like to alleviate the guilt sometimes. People apologize, whereas yeah, it doesn't feel like that at all anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's quite a revelation if you realize apology is just for you. Your apology to someone else is only to make you feel better. Steve.
I forgive you.
Thank you. I wasn't asking for absolution.
I didn't think so.
No.
But thank you so much for doing these.
Oh, you're welcome, Steve. No. I mean, it's not just the Catholic Church who's obsessed with, you know, forgiveness. I mean, they're pretty good at it. They're probably top of the tree in terms of that guilt shit. But you know, all religions, you know, they're all experts at guilt. Powerful stuff. I mean, you want to control someone. Guilt. Powerful stuff. If the governments of the world got wind of this, fortunately, there's only 43 of us here. But if we had 43,000 here, I think we might be shut down. Genuinely, I do. This is absolute anarchy. I don't want to get political about it, but you know what I mean. That I don't mean it politically. I just mean it generally socially. It's socially. It sounds socially anarchic. It's not. I don't want to burn the world down. But,
Like it's already chaos, you know?
Sorry, Natalie.
I said it's almost like it's already anarchy and chaos, just that somehow it's like controlled chaos. You know,
Yeah. Oh no, it is. Yeah.
burn it down. I'm kidding.
There's nothing to.
There's no world to burn.
No. And when everything is beautifully free as it is, there's no desire to burn anything. I can't tell you how apolitical, aspiritual, amoral, aethical. There's such words. You know, all of those things that seem to run my life, that were, you know, core beliefs, they're all empty.
In a way, it's more like the burning down of your world, isn't it? And it's like like we were talking about apocalypse, like the great apocalypse. That was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Lifting the lid.
Yeah, but if your world is burnt to ashes, you won't have lost anything. That's the wonder. I mean, that's really difficult to convey. But everything you hold most dear, what you're most, I mean, you can contemplate that if you want. What are you most afraid of losing? Well, you can't lose that, whatever it is, simply because you don't have it. You are the illusion that you do have what you have. And most precious of all, I have myself. So there is no losing of self. There is no shift. There is no self to shift. There is no self to lose. Everything is already simply as it is, complete, completely empty, completely full. No more, no less, no possibility of more or less. No moving forward, no return home, no one to leave, no one to return. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I'll just give Asheville, it's not Asheville, it's Black Mountain a plug before we leave. So I'm in Black Mountain, which is just outside Asheville, North Carolina, on the 18th, 19th and 20th of August, a beautiful mountain retreat center. Looks absolutely gorgeous. I've not actually been there, but it looks amazing. So that's exciting. If you want information, email me, or just, there's basic information on the website, but if you are interested, the other thing I should mention is, I'm guessing most of you won't be able to make it there. So what I'm planning to do is have a live Zoom link. And if you'd like to join virtually, Trey, who's the host, is going to set that up. And if you're interested in joining virtually, I'm not going to have it where you can ask questions verbally in the meeting virtually, but you can just write questions in the chat and then I'll answer them in the meetings. But it will be live, and you can, if you like the sound of it, just email me and then I'll send you the details. So that's good. I've never done that before, so that's quite good. I just thought, well, not many people can make it. And of course, you don't get the full transmission via Zoom. I will emphasize that. Before you think it's the easy option. No. But you know, I don't know, maybe 35, 36% transmission. I'm not sure about the percentages. You know, who knows? I maybe ask somebody who knows those sort of figures.
Will Trey be recording it?
Pardon?
Hi,
Sorry, who is? Oh,
it's Keely.
hi, Keely.
Will Trey be recording it?
Well, I probably, I might suggest to him that he doesn't record it, because then all of you will get it for free. Yeah. You know, you get free every Thursday.
Okay.
It's costing me an arm and a leg. Now, I will say, I don't know for definite whether maybe a bit after, you know, maybe after then, I'm guessing Trey's going to record it. And so then I may well put them on YouTube. Yeah. A bit later, probably.
I wouldn't want it for free.
Pardon?
I wouldn't want it for free.
No, I don't mean that, but you know what I mean. If they're just recorded and I put them out in the evening after the meeting, then why turn up?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a bad enough businessman anyway without doing that. And I will say, so I'm Tej is here. I'm also in discussion with Tej and Ben about October, the end of October in Sacramento, Folsom, outside Sacramento in California, in August. And I should say, I'm also, sorry, Ben.
For sure.
Tej, yeah, for sure, yeah. And yeah, I'm getting to globetrot. I'm in Copenhagen the first weekend in October. And again, the details of Copenhagen are all on the website. It sounds like I'm some kind of non-duality globetrotter. Oh, thanks for everybody for coming. Thanks, everyone who spoke.
Thank you for this meeting, Tim.
No, thanks. It was lovely.
Beautiful.
Lovely to see you all.
And everyone.
Yeah. Thanks to everyone. Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Darren.
You're welcome.